So Rakk Gear sent us their latest keyboard and mouse bundle called Rakk Tandog PRO. As per usual guys, we'll check its physical overview, features, do some click and typing sound tests. We'll tell you everything you need to know coming up. So what do we get inside the box? Obviously the mechanical hot swappable keyboard and also the mouse and the manual. Now let's check out some physical overview and let's start with the keyboard. So the build has a combination of two materials. From the bottom we have an ABS plastic and from the top, which serves as a backplate, is made out of metal. We have an ABS double shot keycaps and a north facing PCB with 3-pin connector, and the switches used for this keyboard is called Wano red switch. The keycap textures are nice and it doesn't seem to absorb much finger oil, and I could also say the same thing for its backplate. Underneath we have a single level riser and 4 rubber feet. Unfortunately, if you don't want to use the keyboard riser, the keyboard will start sliding a bit because it doesn't have a rubber feet at the back, so just keep that in mind. Now this is the original weight, just in case you guys are curious about it. Lastly, the cable is permanently attached and it is made out of PVC around 5 feet with a silver plated USB-A connector. Now let's check out the mouse. So the body is mostly plastic, but the top shell is made out of a rubber coated ABS plastic. It doesn't absorb much finger oil in the first hour of use, but over time I think it does. Though I love this kinds of texture because you can easily clean it. We got an RGB design on its logo, and on the bottom around the back of the mouse we also got a total of 6 buttons, which we'll check the sound clicks in a bit, so just bear with me a little. Underneath we got 3 mouse gliders and the usual sensor, and now this is the original weight. Lastly, the cable is permanently attached as well, and it is made out of PVC around 5 feet with silver plated USB-A connector. I guess that's all, but before we check out the features, let's do some click and typing sound tests first. Now let's check out some features, and let's begin with the keyboard. So this is a mechanical keyboard with hot swappable features, and it is also compatible with Altemo switches. It has a rainbow LED lighting with built-in preset effects that are modifiable in its software, which we're going to check in a bit. Also, all the keys are programmable, meaning you can set any key to a macro, single key, media key, or function key. No key combinations unfortunately, but we can do that in the macros if you guys are into that key combinations. I guess that's all for the keyboard, but if you want to know more, you can check this out and pause the video. Now let's check out the mouse features. First of all, this one has a 725F sensor with 6 buttons, and 5 of it are programmable. It has the Wano 10M switch with 20G acceleration, 125 polling rate, 60 inches per second tracking movement. It also has an RGB features on its logo and over here, and all of it are modifiable in its own separate software. I guess that's all for its features. Now let's check out the software. The mouse and keyboard has a separate software, which is a bummer. I was hoping to see one software for both, but I guess Rakk gears are still far from that. I'm still hopeful though that someday we will see as such from Rakk gears. Anyway, let's check out the keyboard software first because it is too basic. We got three major buttons, namely Macro, LED, and Settings. In the Macro tab is where we can program each key, where we can do our macros, single key, media keys, and function keys. The function keys are mostly essentials, but we got no programmable key combinations like the Control Alt Delete or something similar. Obviously, we can do that in the macros section, but personally I prefer that to be separated. Now for the panel LED is where we can edit the brightness and use some of this color effects presets, which works as something like this. And that's about it. It's kinda disappointing for a pro keyboard. Basically, the LED colors are permanent and you cannot modify them. They actually call this rainbow LED version, which I'm not a fan of, but if you think otherwise, then this is a good choice for you. Lastly, the settings tab is where we can simply restore the software into default. I guess that's all. Now let's check out the mouse software. So we got four major buttons, aka the basic, macro, advanced, and LED settings. In the basics tab is where we can program the buttons to whatever we want, whether it be mouse function, keyboard combination, media, macro, or profile selection. We can set the music lighting by clicking this one and choose from one of these three different effects. In the macro tab is where we can do our macros, and it seems straightforward. In the advanced tab is where we can modify these settings accordingly, and it works as it should. In the LED tab is where we can obviously set up our RGB effects and play around with these presets accordingly. We got a total of 4 profiles to choose from. Unfortunately, we cannot rename them in accordance to the game we are setting it with. Since the profile setup is limited, we are bound to use the import and export saves if you want to play more than 3 games using this mouse. I guess that's all. Now let's move into the conclusion and let's talk about the pros and cons of this keyboard and mouse combo. First, let's talk about the cons of the mouse. The side buttons feels mushy, which can make it difficult to get the precise clicks you need during gaming. The sensor isn't the best and it doesn't work properly on white surfaces. The cable looks fragile, which could be a concern for some users. The software application has 2 seconds delay for some reason, which can be frustrating if you need to make a quick adjustment. Finally, there are limited profile saves, which can be a drawback if you need more customization options. But there are some positives to this mouse as well. Well, I'm a big fan of the Huano switches, which can provide a tactile and responsive clicks. The rubber-coated texture feels great in the hand and provides a comfortable grip. The RGB design is evenly distributed and aesthetically pleasing, with a variety of effects to choose from. And one of the best features of this is that the last profile loaded is recorded in the mouse itself, so you don't have to worry about downloading and reprogramming the mouse buttons if you use it on a different PC. Overall, the mouse may not be for everyone, but it does have some great features that make it worth considering. Now, this keyboard has some great features too, but there are also some drawbacks you need to consider. First of all, let's talk about the cons. The software must always be running for the program buttons to function, which means you need to download and reprogram your custom keys again if you use this keyboard on a different PC. There are also no profile import-export saves option like in the mouse software, which can be an inconvenience for some users who need to switch in between multiple devices. Additionally, the keyboard could use 2 more rubber grips at the back for better stability if you don't want to use the keyboard riser. The key switches can be a bit difficult to remove, which can be a problem if you need to replace the switch. And finally, the rainbow LED lighting and the effects may not be everyone's cup of tea, and it can make the keyboard look like it's trying really hard to be flashy. But there are also some positives to this keyboard. One of the best features of this keyboard is that it is hot swappable, which means you can switch out switches without having to solder anything. The keycaps and the backplate texture are nice and it doesn't absorb much fingerprints. The keyboard has a sturdy and heavy-duty build with 0 flex, which means it will last long even with heavy use. Overall, this keyboard has some great features, but there are also some drawbacks you need to consider. In my opinion, the label Pro for this mouse and keyboard bundle is an overstatement. I think calling it essential is much more appropriate. Maybe it's just me, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway, if you'll ask me if I'll recommend this, well, I would recommend this bundle for people who are on a budget, casual gamers, and those people who just want a working mouse and keyboard combo and be done with it type of people. However, I would not recommend this for competitive gamers who require more advanced customization options and features like better sensor and software modification to gain more edge in their games. So if you're in the market for an affordable and decent quality gaming mouse and keyboard combo, this bundle is definitely worth considering. If you think this is not for you, then check out the other mouse and keyboard bundle reviews we have on your screen. So that's it guys, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.